All right, so this week we are reading some books about fall and a couple of books about apples. Let's just look at the picture here, and based on the pictures on the front of my book, what do you think this story is going to be about? Apples. I see apples in a crate. The title of my story is called Apples. So that tells me we're probably going to read a story about apples today. Let's remember, that the author writes the words and the illustrator draws the pictures. And here's my title page, Apples. An apple is a fruit. It grows on a apple tree. Apple trees grow in more parts of the world than any other fruit, and they have been in existence for about 2 million years. The very first American colonists brought apple seeds and seedlings with them from England. A seedling is a very young and small tree. The colonists moved westward. They brought apples, seeds, and seedlings with them. Some settlers found that Native Americans had already brought apple seeds west and had apple trees growing near their villages. Many times during the 1800s, John Chapman traveled through the wilderness of Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Indiana, where we live, planting apple seeds. He gave seeds and seedlings to settlers there. He became known as Johnny Appleseed. Some apples are grown at home, but most are grown commercially. Each year, about 250 million bushels of apples are grown in the United States, and 28 million bushels are grown in Canada. An apple is a firm, crisp, fleshy fruit that has a hard center called a core. The core has a 5-seed chamber. In the springtime, flowers called apple blossoms begin to bloom on the apple tree. Each blossom has to be pollinated in order to grow. The blossoms are usually pollinated by insects or by the wind. We typically see that bees are the ones that pollinate. After a while, the blossoms begin to die and apples start to grow. Throughout the warm summer, the little apples grow bigger and bigger. During the late summer and early fall, that's right now, the apples ripen. When the trees are loaded with ripe apples, it's harvest time, and workers pick the apples by hand. Some are shipped to stores, and some are used to make apple juice, apple cider, apple jelly, apple sauce, and lots of other apple products. Some are sold in baskets on roadside stands. During fall, it's fun to go apple picking. Also, there are country fairs. Awards are given to the best looking apple, the best tasting apple pies, and the most delicious applesauce. There is also apple cider too. During Halloween, there are caramel apples and candy apples. And some people bob for apples, which is the game. When winter arrives, the apple tree branches become bare, and the trees will become dormant until next spring, when the trees will produce a new crop of apples. These are some common apples that grow in North America. Apples have many tastes ranging from sweet to tart, which means sour. All apples are different shades of yellow, green, and red, and a mix of those colors. This one's called a Rome Beauty, Macintosh, Jonathan, Stamen, Red Delicious, Golden Delicious, York, and a Granny Smith. An apple tree will not grow apples until it is about 5 to 8 years old. Each spring, the tree branches are trimmed. This is called pruning. Most apple trees grow to be about 20 feet tall. and the soil around the trees should be fertilized. Pruning and fertilizing helps produce lots of good apples. Make your own apple pie with the help of an adult. And here is how an apple cider press works. There are thousands of varieties or kinds of apples, and they are nutritious and delicious. So, what was our story all about? It was about apples, and this told us how apples grow, what kinds of apples there are, and it told us about things we can do with apples. I want you to tell me a couple of things that we can do with apples.